Welcome to Zombie Strains, the podcast where we watch all of the zombie films. This week, The Horror at Party Beach, a film with 1 foot in the past.
The voodoo, that's what it is.
1 foot in the rocking 60s. And may feature the first ever Slumber Party Massacre. That's right, we're watching The Horror at Party Beach. Hit it, Producer Brad.
You know, I've seen people act like that in pictures. What do they call them, zombies or something?
Zombie.
What's a zombie?
Just what is a zombie?
Well, a zombie, there's, Mr. Bill, there's the living dead.
They are the living dead.
Getting the zombies.
Is a sound.
Because a zombie has no will of his own.
It's an army of zombies no armies could stand.
What is wrong? What is wrong?
Hello, zombie-loving fans. Or maybe you're here because you're beach party movie-loving fans. But in any case, I'm John.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Brad.
How do you feel about beach party movies, Brad? I've never actually had this conversation with you because I don't think it's ever come up.
I am struggling to have commentary on beach parties.
Is this your first voluntary watching of a beach party movie? I don't know. We'll have to get into it.
I was trying to remember if Surf Nazis is a beach party movie from the 80s, and I can't remember.
Oh, that's a classic.
The genre technically ends in 1968. So anything you watched after that is something else.
All right. Well, you're going to tell us all about that later. Hi, folks. We're watching The Horror at Party Beach. It's quite a film. If you don't know, it is probably one of the highest rated Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes. I know many people who have seen it in that form. It is from 1964. It's, let's say, low budget. And I will argue that it does contain a couple of good zombie bits, though. So I think we have to talk about it.
I was very surprised at how zombie this movie ended up being.
Yes.
Despite not looking like it's going to be a zombie movie at all.
Despite the creatures looking like
Muppets.
Like Muppets. Like
Yeah.
if the creature from the Black Lagoon was a Muppet. Yeah.
And had big googly eyes. Yeah.
Anyway, before we get into it, anybody doing any see anything or consume any zombie or other cinema related content in the last week?
I have been staying up too late watching low budget horror movies lately, and I've seen a couple good ones. I just watched the Lovecraftian. It's not a found footage movie, but it's a movie that is framed as a documentary about a past crime spree. It's called Strange Harvest.
I have heard of this film.
Yeah, I recommend it if you like a good Lovecraftian serial killer story. And I watched Bodies, 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 which is a recent one, which I enjoyed a good bit. If you like funny horror,
Self-aware horror kind of thing.
Yeah, very, very much so. And then I watched We Bury the Dead, which is in theaters at the time of this recording, at least, which is a zombie film.
I also watched We Bury the Dead. And we'll have more to say about that later. However, you know what I saw a trailer for at the beginning of We Bury the Dead?
The next 28 Days Later?
No.
Oh,
Scream 7.
Whoa. Okay.
Starring Neve Campbell, and she seems to be the main character. It's her protecting her daughter kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's that point at which when you get old enough, the reboots can start incorporating you as like the previous generation,
Yes.
I guess. That's great.
Yes. So
are you a fan of that genre, of that series, John?
You know, and I loved the first one is burned into my brain because I didn't know, let's keep in mind that was pre-internet, so I knew nothing about it. So sorry for spoiler for Scream. When Drew Barrymore bought it in the first 5 minutes, I was like, what is happening here? It was quite I knew who Wes Craven was, but I didn't know it was going to be so good. And it was really good. But the others, I'm not I haven't watched all the other ones. I've watched some of them.
I think I've only seen the first one, which I enjoyed quite a bit, but I haven't kept up with the franchise at all.
Anyway, how about you, Producer Brad?
Well, I just want to tag on to your blowing spoilers since let's talk Executive Decision from the 90s. I wonder, it makes me think, was there a thing in the 90s where you'd have a big actor like Steven Seagal in an action film and he dies in the first 10 minutes of the film?
Oh, maybe that is a thing. I'd be curious.
I don't know.
Interesting.
But when you said that, my mind went to that film.
Yes, in the case of Executive Decision, didn't we still have Kurt Russell around to carry us
We did.
through? Okay, good. Thank God. I'm glad it was. Sorry, Steven. I'm glad it was you and not Kurt. That's all I have to say.
That's a venerable fake out, I think.
Yes.
Game of Thrones famously does that.
Yes. Yep. So anyway, I don't think we have any trigger warnings today, other than it's a bad movie. Andy, do you want to?
Yeah, that's my only cautionary note. Yes.
When do you think you can remove that trigger warning that it's a bad film?
Oh, yeah, we probably could by this point. I mean, this isn't the worst movie we've watched. So
No, but my question is, when do you think we'll have some consistently good movies?
Oh, I don't know.
I do feel we are getting into the era where some actual good movies are going to sneak up on us. Last Man on Earth was like unironically good. I
Yeah,
think.
Carnival of Souls are unironically good. So
yes, exactly.
Though there's people that don't think that we mean that, but we do really mean that. If you've seen Carnival, so.
And there's your personal favorite, Monstrosity,
yes.
which you just can't stop talking about.
My wife said, "No more Monstrosity, Jesus." Yes. So, in any case, would you tell us how this thing happened, Producer Brad?
The Horror at Party Beach was released in April 1964. There is conflicting information for the exact date, so I'm just going to go with the entire month. In zombie film chronology, this film comes after The Last Man on Earth. Horror films from this year include the Hammer films The Evil of Frankenstein and The Gorgon, Mario Bava's Blood and Black Lace, and the Roger Corman film The Mask of the Red Death. Musicals were popular at this time. My Fair Lady was released in 64 and won the Best Picture. And the first Beatles film, A Hard Day's Night, was released in August of 1964.
You know what's interesting about that is that we think of the Beatles in some way as the start of pop music, or a sort of new wave. Like this film features a surf rock band. Like apparently some people didn't want to sign the Beatles because they thought guitar rock was over and it was moving into something else, like Frankie Valli or something. So in any case, it's just a reminder that rock and roll was doing just fine before the Beatles. Not that I don't love the Beatles, but yeah.
Well, Del Tenney produced and directed the film. He started as an actor and appeared as an extra in a few Hollywood films, then moved to New York to act on stage. He did summer stock productions for 14 years, then decided he wanted more control and moved behind the camera. He got jobs as the assistant director on low-budget exploitation films like Orgy at Lil's House and Satan in High Heels.
Okay.
Andy, either of those being added to your list?
Well, you know what though, I think we're realizing that the genre of horror and pornographic or super sexy films were very closely related early on. They diverge shortly, I think, but they're maybe intertwined for a long time.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about the history of exploitation film, because I am pretty intrigued that in this era you can release films with those ludicrously provocative titles. That's just really interesting to me, even if they are just getting tiny releases for niche adult markets. That's pretty interesting.
Well, what you really wish is that you could know more about the history of exploitation films without having to research the history of exploitation films.
And without having to watch any of them.
And without
honestly.
having to watch any of them, for sure.
I'll make that a podcast, but only after the other 12 podcasts we've committed
We have
to
at least do the Captain America serial before we do that. So,
All right, well, Del Tenney produced his first film, Violent Midnight, in 1963. He wrote the story with his wife, and it was based on a true story about a woman who went missing near Bennington College. Margot Tenney, Del's wife, was a student at Bennington at the time. The supporting cast were many of Del's friends from the theater, and a few, James Ferrantino, Sylvia Miles, and Dick Van Patten, went on to successful Hollywood careers.
I've heard of one of those names. So
Dick Van Patten from Eight is Enough.
Yes. The ultimate dad.
Now, Del only directed 5 films, but one, I Eat Your Skin, is on our list, and we will watch it when we get to 1971.
Great.
That film was
Can't
his
wait.
4th film, and he didn't direct his last film until 2003. It's called Descendant, and he co-directed with Kermit Crispin. William Catt, The Greatest American Hero, and Katherine Heigl were in the cast.
Oh, wow.
What?
I know, it's kind of crazy.
Katherine Heigl went through a period, and maybe is still in a period where mainstream Hollywood maybe turned their back on her. So,
Well, I think this was before she had the roles on Grey's Anatomy.
okay. So this is when we,
This is her on the way up.
gotcha.
Now, Del Tenney was approached by Alan Iceland. who owned a dozen drive-in theaters and wanted to make movies, specifically drive-in movies. They agreed to work together and produce 2 films. Iceland had 2 titles in mind that he thought would be easy to sell. So this goes to, Andy, your thoughts about titles that are salacious and you want to see them.
Yeah, well, you're going a little too far.
He wants
there,
to know more about them. He
Yeah.
doesn't want to see them. I want to make that distinction.
But what he's saying is the titles grab your attention.
Yes.
And so the 2 titles that he brought to Dell were The Curse of the Living Corpse and Invasion of the Zombies. They agreed, and they each put in $100,000, shot the movies back-to-back over 17 days. The Curse was shot first. Both Roy Scheider and Candace Hilligoss were in the cast. This was Scheider's first film. Hilligoss knew Tenny from the theater, but we know her as the lead in Carnival of Souls.
Oh,
Oh,
all right. It's all coming together.
Then they moved to Invasion of the Zombies, and during production, the title was changed to The Horror at Party Beach. Beach party films were a brand new genre at the time, the first being Beach Party with Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello in 1963.
Oh, yeah.
Muscle Beach Party came out in March of 64, just before The Horror of Party Beach. Over 30 beach party movies were released between 63 and 68 when the fad faded. And I think Andy will provide more details in a few minutes. Now, the cast. For the majority of the cast, this was their only film. John Lyon is the lead, and he plays Hank Green. He acted in 2 other films, The Orgy at Lil's Place and The Sexperts, Touched by Temptation.
Great. His character's name is Hank Green, and we're at a time in the internet where I can't not think of Hank Green, brother of
Yes.
John Green, whenever I hear the name Hank Green. So,
Eula Bell Moore plays Eula Bell. She has 9 screen credits, and this was her last. She died a few months after filming. She was a Broadway actor and appeared in many Broadway shows, including A Streetcar Named Desire, You Can't Take It With You, and The Skin of Our Teeth.
yeah, she's definitely the best actor in this movie.
Yeah.
like by a
Yes.
mile.
And unfortunately, she gets the maid role where she
Yes.
has the uniform with all the lace, and it's
Yeah.
just a big stereotype.
What a throwback, right? Like that was the 30s and 40s, and I mean, I suppose there was one in Gone with the Wind, but wow, we've just thrown all the way back to that. That's kind of
we'll get into it when we actually discuss the film, but I was stunned when she came in a role straight out of like a late 30s zombie film.
yeah, exactly.
But the other actor most recognizable from this cast is Wayne Tippett. He was the second of the 2 drunks who gets attacked by the monster. He was a great character actor. His
Yeah.
face, especially as he looked in the 90s, will be familiar to you, even if you can't place him in a film.
He's that guy. I didn't, as soon as you said his name, I was like, oh, I know that name, but I didn't put it together when I was watching it.
He was an FBI agent in the Oliver Stone film JFK. He played J. Edgar Hoover in the 1996 TV series Dark Skies. He was Heather Locklear's father in Melrose Place. And he had a
Nice.
short run on The Rockford Files.
Wow.
Anything to do with the Rockford Files, I'm behind. So
The band playing at the beach party is the Del Airs. They were a real band from Paterson, New Jersey. They released 5 singles between 1961 and 1964, but none made it to the Billboard charts. One of those songs, Drag, was written for The Horror at Party Beach. If you go to Spotify or Apple Music now, you'll find a 2012 album titled Zombie Stomp. It's a compilation album named after an original song from the movie. And John, I know you had it for later, but I still think we need to play it now. So here's Zombie Stomp.
go for it.
Oh, everybody do the zombie stomp. You slam your foot down with an awful pump. You reach out further, further. Step me closer, step me closer. Ooh, it's the living end.
Baby, baby, don't be scared, 'cause I'm standing here looking kind of weird.
I personally felt that was amazing. So
Yeah, I gave this album a listen actually because it is on Spotify. And listeners, if you like that kind of music, I can't say it's a bad example of it. So
yes, and the dance featured people like waving their arms out in front of them and stuff. It was pretty fantastic.
And
There
twisting
is-
their hips.
Yeah.
there is an Ozzy Osbourne song also called Zombie Stomp, and I got really excited at the thought that maybe it was a cover of this one, but it is not. It would have been better if it were.
And what's interesting, the songs that I listened to seem to have the ambient music or ambient sounds from the movie in them. So there was party sounds and people in the background of all the music.
Yeah, I wonder if they they just didn't have recordings, and the only way they could extract them is pull them from the film. Because they do play multiple songs all the way through.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, there is a biography on the band's drummer, John Becker, that was published in 2024. It's called Becker Comes Alive, a rock and roll pioneer's true life tale of music, murder, and monsters by Rob Herrera.
Pioneer, huh?
And if you're wondering why such an obscure musician has a biography, it turns out Herrera was Becker's neighbor. And without reading the book, it sounds like he enjoyed Becker's stories and wanted to share them.
All right.
Huh.
Now, this might be the first film to use the trope of the leaking barrel of radioactive waste that creates monsters.
That's
yeah.
interesting.
We had Godzilla from 1954, but he was awakened, not created, by an atomic blast. In 64, we also have Daredevil, the comic book, and Matt Murdock was splashed by radioactive material, blinding him and heightening his other senses. In the 80s, there are many films that use nuclear waste as a plot device, not always with an explicit barrel, but we have the 1981 Chevy Chase film Modern Problems, where a tanker spills waste on Chevy Chase. We do have Chud, cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers about radioactive waste secretly being dumped under New York City that mutates people.
Yep.
The 1986 film Class of Nukem High, a nuclear plant contaminates the water supply and mutates high schoolers. And we have Redneck Zombies in 87 about rednecks who find a nuclear waste barrel in the woods and use it to make moonshine.
We're going to have to watch that, aren't we? Yes.
Did the,
Well, it's called Redneck Zombies. So
Were the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles turned into ninjas by
Yes,
toxic
they were.
waste, I think?
I think there's many more. I did not find an easy source for these
I
answers.
cannot remember if the Toxic Avenger, if it was radioactive or just toxic waste. So
See, that's the thing. Is it toxic or is it nuclear?
yeah, I don't know. Or both.
At some point, it's sort of the same concept.
Yes. Yeah, we're splitting hairs or splitting mutants at this point.
No box office records are available for The Horror at Party Beach, but Del Tenney, when asked how he felt about many of his films appearing on the worst films of all time list, answered, "I cry all the way to the bank." So
That's great.
he made some profits.
Works for me.
You know, I love to hear that attitude, actually.
Andy, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, we could. I mean, normally I would talk historical context here, and I want to talk a little bit more about the beach party movie genre. Shall we jump into that stuff?
Yeah, why don't you do both of those things?
All right, let me start with the history stuff. So this is 1964. We've had a couple of movies in 64, so I'm just going to briefly remind you what's going on in the world generally at this time. In case you've forgotten, we are still smack dab in the middle of the Cold War, a particularly scary stretch of it, I would say.
Yep, it's just past the
JFK.
Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yep, JFK had just been assassinated. We have the Civil Rights Act has been passed into law, and a ton of Cold War escalation stuff, or at least tension building stuff, is happening this year. So we have the Gulf of Tonkin incident happens in this year, which is going to greatly expand U.S. involvement in Vietnam. China becomes a nuclear power in this year by testing a nuclear bomb. And in the USSR, Khrushchev is somewhat unexpectedly removed from power and replaced by Brezhnev, who is more of a hardliner than Khrushchev was. I know Khrushchev has this reputation for being sort of an aggressive bully, and he was a difficult person to deal with.
But more personally than, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, yeah. But behind the bluster, he actually was responsible for sort of dialing down Stalinization in the USSR and easing some of the Stalin era stuff. So, but Brezhnev comes in. He's more of a communist hardliner, and he undid a lot of those reforms. One of the things Brezhnev did is he ended up articulating this thing that's called the Brezhnev Doctrine, which is the USSR basically saying, hey, anywhere in the world that that socialism is being threatened by capitalism, we can intervene.
Right.
And this is a mirror to the US's own policy. The Johnson Doctrine is what it's called, which said the same thing from the U.S. perspective, where the U.S. basically said, hey, anywhere in the world that, capitalism and democracy is being threatened by communism, we can intervene. So this is a couple of year period in which both of the superpowers are basically giving themselves permission to intervene anywhere they want in the globe if they perceive that it's important to do so in the struggle against their ideological rival. And you can imagine sort of the escalation and general tension that will create. I find that interesting because, and here I'm going to switch to talking about this genre. This genre feels like such an almost desperate attempt to not to escape from these scary realities.
Yes.
And I think this is not a movie where we're going to see a lot of stuff about the Cold War and the tensions of the nuclear age. It is a movie where we will conspicuously see absolutely nothing of import or social significance, I guess. And that in itself seems very significant to me. So
Yeah, the only cultural thing it's commenting on is beach party movies.
yeah,
It seems to steal all its tropes from an earlier age, in a sense.
yes. So I did some online research about the beach party genre because it's not one I've not really watched a lot of these films. I actually called my mom because she was a teenager
Yeah.
and she was at exactly the right age that these movies were targeted right at her in the early 60s. And so I had a good conversation. Thanks, Mom, if you're listening, about just what the experience of watching these movies was like and how she understood them. So, Brad, you mentioned the beach party genre. It had a short but spectacular life. It really ran from 1962 to 1968, and then it was out of fashion. And the first movie, like you said, was Beach Party, which was a surprise hit. And then it quickly spawned a bunch of imitators over the next couple of years. And strangely, the most profitable beach party movies were the lower budget ones.
Probably because they spent more time just focusing on people wiggling their butts.
I suspect so. Yeah, I think the ones that maybe had less pretension about being good art were probably better at doing this genre. If that makes sense.
Because the genre is all about people dancing in bikinis and tight swim trunks. So
exactly. So in our What's Scary About the 1960s episode, we talked about the 1960s as an era in which it felt like all of the world of entertainment was turning its attention and pandering to teenagers. And this genre is a perfect example of a genre that is entirely built to pander to the interests and desires of teenagers.
absolutely.
So here are some things you'll find in all of these movies. I'm just going to run down a list of stuff. So they're mostly comedies, like romantic comedy type of things. They are full of trendy music. And basically, whatever teen trends were big at the time, if it was like surfing or car racing or anything else, it's going to be in these movies.
Right.
These movies have a ton of skin and sexuality, but there's a caveat to all this. So there's lots of shirtless guys and girls in risque two-piece swimsuits in these movies. And this was really risque at the time. But it's noteworthy that none of these movies ever actually featured actual nudity or sex. I looked around at some of the posters for some of these movies, and they lean really heavily on sex in their marketing in a
Yes.
way that is actually much more suggestive than these movies end up being.
Yeah.
The taglines are basically all but promise sex and nudity in these films, which they don't end up having. So, and the movies
You mean there's no
themselves-
dynamic sex lectures in those films?
no dynamic sex lectures. These movies themselves do a ton of like kind of winking at sexuality, but they're careful to not actually cross any boundaries.
Right.
And so they have this weird experience. And this movie, as kind of trashy as it is, this movie strikes this balance as well, where it simultaneously feels chaste and sexy at the same time.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of key to the appeal of this entire genre. It was like kind of a safe way to go and be titillated for a bit without actually seeing something truly unacceptable or inappropriate. Does that make sense?
It does. My mother used to say about Marilyn Monroe when we were, I forget how we got on this topic, but she said there was something, despite her being a sex symbol, there was something good-hearted or innocent about her at the same time. And this feels
Yeah.
like the same vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
This movie does have our second butt shot where the camera zooms into a butt. The first one was Dr. Blood's coffin. And so that struck me that they actually, that's kind of the sexiest thing they do.
Yeah. I also think it's got our 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th butt shots. So
Yes, this movie's ogling of its female cast, it makes Ritual look like a classy, restrained piece of art.
yes,
So
it does.
I don't want to. Yeah. So lastly, I just want to say these movies often have like non-parent adults as antagonists or comic relief.
But there's hardly any adults in this thing except for one guy.
Exactly. And they're characterized by basically a lack of social relevance, you might say, at least,
Yes.
or commentary on anything serious. So there's my rundown on the beach party genre. That I'm sure that's incomplete and I'm missing a lot. But do you have any questions or thoughts on that, Brad?
I will just add that the one note that I did include, which is interesting, is when Annette Funicello was cast in the film, Walt Disney was not happy. She was a big Disney star, and his one stipulation was she could not wear a bikini. So
Oh,
in the film, she's wearing a one piece, and everyone else is in bikinis.
okay. It's interesting the history of Disney actors who sort of moved out of that. Kurt Russell was a Disney guy. Like, it's just fascinating the turn that happens. So
Yeah. All right. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, we can jump right into this movie. John, you're leading the show this time around. Do you want to give us a 30-second rundown of the plot?
yeah, and 30 seconds might be all it takes. A
Yeah.
group of teenagers go to the beach and party to the band the Del Airs. In the meanwhile, somebody dumps some toxic waste into the ocean, which lands on a skeleton, which reanimates the skeleton as a sea monster. Sea monster kills one of the partygoers, and then multiple sea monsters terrorize the entire town for what feels like months until they finally figure out a way to kill them using chemistry and save the day. I know I haven't introduced any of the players in that little intro, but we'll get into them as we go through the movie.
I would just add accidental chemistry.
Accidental
Yes.
chemistry, yes.
And you didn't introduce any of the players because they're not that important.
They're not super important, but we'll get to them. So, and the other thing is this suffers from adult teenageritis, right? This has the grease problem. Like Hank
Yes.
is 28, maybe.
Yes.
So they're all not all, but most of them appear.
Most
And
of
maybe
them
it's
are, yeah.
just like, how we were commenting a few episodes ago that the actors in Star Trek seem like middle-aged men when they're like 31, And I think that's a little bit happening here.
There's
too.
a couple of people in the beach fight scene early in this movie that if they're not in their 40s, I'd be stunned.
I think you're right. I think you're right. So let's get into it. So this movie opens with something that feels very 50s, except for the actual vehicle itself. We have a sort of drag race. We have a guy in a sports car. We later find out this is Hank with his girlfriend Tina, and he is driving an MGA Mark I, which is a British sports car the size of a postage stamp. It's actually only a two-seater, and they're surrounded by a motorcycle gang, and Tina is flirting with them, and we hear wonderful rock and roll surf music playing over the top as they drive to the beach to show up for the party.
Does MG stand for something?
MG stands for Morris Garages,
All right.
which is
Yep.
where
British
these
sports car.
originated.
Okay.
I heard a rumor, and I meant to look this up before we started, that the MG that was famous in the 80s when I was a kid was the MGB, which is a little larger. And I once heard that the MGA didn't have a top, and it had a plug in the footwell where you could drain the water from a rainstorm. And I don't know if that guy was messing with me, but now I want to look it up and see if that's true.
Seeing this car, John, I'm not a car person, but this car's throaty roar is such a muscle car retro thing. I went down this big rabbit trail about like
all the cars in this movie are really loud.
Yeah, just how we rating horsepower has changed over the years. The question I had was like, did we start with really powerful cars and then they got wimpier as time went on?
Cars have
answer is
gotten
no.
wimpier, kind of. Well,
Kind of.
This is the muscle car time. There's like 8-cylinder GTOs and stuff.
So what I was reading is that like modern, like a Toyota Camry can go 0 to 60 faster than a lot of muscle cars.
Right.
Just because they're just more efficient. But cars today, I have a Prius and it's like, I love it, but it's the wimpiest feeling car you could possibly imagine. Anyway,
yeah,
this car roaring down the road has the most muscle car, pleasantly muscle car vibe we've seen in any of our films to date.
I just want to pause here and say we're taking a movie very seriously that was a Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie, and rightfully so. So as we go through the plot, we're not going to try to outdo Mystery Science Theater on making fun of a movie, but we will point out where it's ridiculous. And I don't want to dwell too long on the plot because it's not great, but there's a lot of fun stuff.
Yes, there is.
I think the flaw of the movie is A, it's cheap, and B, some of the scenes are so long it's painful. But if you just excise some of the zombie bits, which is what we'll try to highlight, there's actually some good stuff here. So that's my
I'll just
pitch.
add that motorcycle gang was a real motorcycle club.
That's right.
This film was shot in Connecticut, so they just hired a group of motorcycle club nearby to be in the film.
That way they didn't have to even find motorcycles. They're like, here, you can be in a movie. Bring your bike and your jacket and your sunglasses. So
And isn't it? It's so funny when all the motorcycle gang like groups up for a group shot, and they all just are wearing the exact same.
I
leather
know.
jackets and I googled this group. This motorcycle club is still around, by the way.
That's cool.
And
don't tell me they're like white supremacists or something. Cause
no, I mean, who knows? So their website is charmingly like pre-Web 2.0. It uses like HTML frames and stuff like that. So, but the most recent stuff I could find was this last Christmas. They were running a drive to gift Christmas presents to needy children. So,
all right,
I mean, maybe there's some sort of creepy Aryan group. It's possible, but I'd like to think that they're a bunch of softies.
It feels like it. I'm down for that. So, in any case, Hank and Tina are in the MG, and they're clearly fighting. And Tina wants to party. She wants to get drunk. And they immediately just have a conversation about how Hank's the responsible one who's now out of high school and doing laboratory experiments. And Tina is a foolish party girl. And they have a fight right out of the gate. And I just wanted to give everybody a peek into the dialogue at the heart of this film. So here's Tina heartfeltly addressing Hank about how they don't know each other anymore.
Oh, Hank, what's happening to us?
So when are you going to get it through your head that life isn't just all fun and games?
Okay, no more lectures. We're not even talking the same language anymore. All right, if that's the way you want it, then you just go on your way, and I'll go mine. We'll see who gets the most out of life. Oh, brother, you ain't seen living till you've seen Tina swing.
Heck yeah.
I don't know what accent or dialect does she have going on, but it's delightful.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But also, did you hear the horrible cut? Like, after she speaks, he starts to respond, and then they cut to him, and then he finishes responding, and it's just such an obvious gap in the dialogue, even though the word is the same.
If people are listening, they couldn't understand. She says, you ain't seen nothing until you've seen Tina swing.
Yes.
That's how she ends her clip.
Yep.
So the dubbing in this movie is quite obviously bad, like throughout. I'm sure you guys notice it as well. I don't remember if it was this scene or not, but there's a lot of scenes where the words coming out of the mouth do not match the mouth movements. So.
Yes.
Is this the first example of teens talking about relationships that we've had? I mean, we haven't had that many teens.
Interesting.
Not even just teens. Is it the first discussion of relationships?
You know what? I didn't even think of it because it's so common in movies now that sort of everything that happens in movies to some extent. But maybe, right, with teens having independent romantic lives, like I feel like we haven't really seen that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because we've had people who are established in the relationship. Either they're engaged and that's established, or they are married and that's established. But this is sort of like a temporary relationship, and it kind of breaks up in front of us.
Yeah, and what's also interesting is there's no adults here, so we're seeing a lot of relationship dynamics, and everybody's a teenager, right? Because at one point we're soon to meet Elaine, which is another girl here who likes Hank, and who
looks like she's 30.
She looks like she's 30, and then there's the motorcycle gang, and Tina flirts with them, so they have these sort of dynamics that we just sort of take for granted. But really, maybe you're right, we haven't seen that yet, for us anyway.
Well, it's the teen social structure.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's the world of teenagers that didn't exist 15 years before this movie.
Yes.
They have their own rules, their own way of processing feelings and relationships. It is interesting.
But
I wanted to point out.
I was going to say, I'm sure this happened in other films in the late 50s and 60s. This is the first time we're really seeing it in zombie films.
Yeah, that's a sort of another case of us being sort of trapped in our zombie lane. We're maybe missing the first time things happen elsewhere. But what were you going to say, Andy?
I was going to say what's interesting to me about this opening scene is that I don't know if this is a feature of the beach party genre, but it's certainly a feature of the horror genre that the protagonists that you're expected to like and who are going to survive to the end are the responsible ones.
Yes.
So the Hank here, the movie opens with him lecturing his girlfriend, and they break up because she's too much of a party girl. She doesn't take life seriously. He has plans for life.
Right.
Later, we're going to meet Elaine, who is the only female on this beach who is dressed modestly and not participating. She doesn't participate in the silly shenanigans. And I just wonder if we're looking at that horror trope of like, yeah, you can be excited and titillated by the way all of these other people are violating boundaries and pushing the envelope. But at the end, they're all going to be punished for not adhering to social convention.
It's the horror story is morality tale. Those who screw around, those who have loose sex at sleepaway camp get macheted. It's a line from here to there, it feels like.
Yes, for sure. Anyway, so carry on, John. I kind of bogged us down.
Yeah,
there,
enough talk of feelings and teenagers. We got monsters to create here. So we just cut to a ship that has big barrels labeled radioactive waste, and they are throwing them overboard in a certain spot in the ocean, not very far from Party Beach. So just a tip for those who wanted to dispose of toxic waste, don't write radioactive waste on the, you could paint it, right? Like you could paint it and it could say milk, right? And then nobody knows that you're dumping toxic waste. But
yeah, that's a hot tip. A life hack.
Hey, there you go. Anyway, so the toxic waste lands on a skull that's at the bottom of the sea here. And there is this scene, and I think I'll tell you the note I took. It says, "It takes forever for this thing to animate." But this is our first zombie, which looks like a Muppet version of the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes.
I did say I kind.
You know what? It kind of looks like Sigmund the Sea Monster too. Do you remember him from the Sid and Marty Krofft show in the 70s?
Yes. It also looks like something like that Ultraman would fight. You know what I mean? Like a kaiju that Ultraman would fight. So, yeah, with sort of a bad, or even a Power Ranger, right? Like it's just sort of a bad costume,
Yes.
Yeah. The nice thing I'll say here is it's got this spacey sort of theremin-esque music playing over the transformation for the 37 hours that the transformation takes place, and it is kind of engaging. I actually kind of like the movie music in this movie, even though it's not like great.
I tend to agree. Yeah. And the monsters have not a musical theme that plays, but it's like a set of instruments that plays every time they're on the screen that I found kind of charming.
Yes. So let's talk about what happens next, because we get to this is sort of the chunk of the movie that gets us started. So the party begins. Right. And the bikers show up and join the party and start intimidating people. And Tina is dancing around and flirting with the biker leader, and everybody's drinking and smoking. And Hank sort of walks off. We see people making out. We're treated to a number of bad jokes. One I have recorded for later, so I won't say them all. But the worst one was in our second or third butt shot of the show, they do that, and then one teenage boy looks at another teenage boy and says, "Did I remember to bring my hot dog buns?" So there you go. Take whatever you want out of that. So there's bikers, there's fighting. So Elaine, so Tina, makes a move on the biker guys, and Hank gets in, and there's this big set battle fight where they're all fighting, and the nice guys get into the ring with the bikers, and there's like this gymnastics routine that happens. Like
I thought it was more like a circus acrobatic
it was
fight.
Like, I wrote.
I wanted Santo to charge in here because they're doing some quasi wrestling moves.
I'm like, what is this, Gymkata? Like I didn't know what was happening in this scene.
I just noticed, like, if you were like a sociologist, an alien sociologist studying humanity, like this scene is such a hilarious example. Two alpha males are fighting over access to a female while the rest of the pack watches.
Right.
It's just so hilarious.
It is, yeah. And then at the end, what do, Andy?
They shake hands.
After punching each other for like 15 minutes. Yeah, it was a more civilized time, I guess.
I guess so. The honor of the beach warrior.
Yes, but then the party continues, and this is where we hear the zombie stomp for the first time, which is very exciting. Yep. Meanwhile, the creature has emerged. I think we call it a breakwater. There in the pier. There's this giant, like the pile of rocks, that actually. Oh yeah. And
Tina swam out to it.
Yes. Well, the creature, for some reason, Hank is looking out to sea, and the creature climbs up on the breakwater, but Hank doesn't see it because he's talking to Elaine, who likes him. The 40-year-old woman who's wearing a suit at the beach.
Who is the daughter of the lead scientist?
Who's the daughter of the lead
Another
scientist,
trope
we find out.
reappearing.
But Tina goes swimming. And then we get to see Tina brutally murdered by this zombie creature. I would like to say, like, it's more gruesome than I thought it would be. There's blood, and in fact, the scene ends with like blood trailing down her foot into the water. And in later scenes, people will have like parts of their faces ripped off and stuff. Like, there's a level of gruesomeness we haven't quite had before.
So that's interesting. There is some stuff I would call gore later in this movie.
Yes.
I didn't realize that was blood. I thought that it was spilling like radioactive goo on her.
Maybe it is.
So I thought this was a hilariously tame murder where it looked to me like the monster was just fondling her for like the 3 hours it takes him to kill her.
I think that's part of it too, right? She's wearing
Yeah.
a bikini and she's screaming. So there's that sort of danger. The sexual element is torqued way up. So for teenage boys actually watching the movie, they're probably confused as hell because they're excited for all kinds of reasons.
and we should clarify, this movie's black and white.
It is,
So
yes.
we can't tell what color that blood or whatever is oozing on her body is. It could be radioactive green. It could be bright red blood, but it's a black and white film.
The shot of her, so I if that is blood, the shot of her leg like dangling and the blood streaming down it is almost a good shot.
I wrote a note in here like that this film has actually like some cinematic pretensions. There's moments where it's not terrible, but it's terrible. I mean, the whole package is terrible, but there's moments.
I believe it is blood because there's a quote from the director saying they used a lot of chocolate syrup for blood in this film.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So I have a feeling it's meant to be blood.
All right.
Okay.
So,
well, she bled a lot without sustaining any visible wounds, I guess is what happened.
Exactly. Now, I have a twofer for you, Andy. We're going to hear one of the wonderful jokes of this film and hear the scream when somebody discovers Tina's body washing on the shore. So,
I can't wait.
Producer Brad, let us have it.
And listeners, pull over because this is going to be so funny. You might lose control of the car.
Hiya, Charlie. Do you like bathing, Beauty?
I don't know, I never bathed
That sums up, if I were to pick one moment of this film to sum up the essence of this movie, that's it.
It's so good. Oh, I'm so glad. The other joke I wrote that's down verbatim. Do you remember this one, John? A girl and a boy are talking, and the girl says, "Do you believe that kissing is unhealthy?" And the guy says, "I don't know." And she goes, "Do you mean you've never been kissed?" And he goes, "No, I mean I've never been sick."
Yes.
So
there you go.
Anyway, this movie is just full of these delightful little gags.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Now we see.
But then we get a good shot of Tina's body just floating in the water.
Tina's body is floated up. People are freaking out, and then we cut to a photo. It's actually, again, slightly artistic and not terrible of that same shot, but police are looking at it. And they immediately jump to the conclusion that something came out of the sea.
Yeah.
Or maybe that it was a wild shark.
A shark, yes.
And they decide to call Dr. Gavin. But I just want to say, this is the scene where you realize Jaws is just a ripoff of this film. So, yeah.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. That's the hot take. So they say, let's go see Dr. Gavin. And then they get in their cars, drive, and go talk to Dr. Gavin. So, again, like something that could have been a cut for 30 seconds is like 10 hours of film time.
I love Dr. Gavin because they clearly were like, I don't know what your costume is. Just grab something that makes you look like a scientist.
Yeah.
So he's got a lab coat and a pipe that he's smoking.
Exactly.
So good.
So they go to Dr. Gavin's house. Now, Dr. Gavin is the father of Elaine. And he has this weird conversation with Elaine about, cheer up, or I don't know. He's like an existential philosopher or something. He has a Cubist painting in his living room. Like, I don't know who this person is supposed to be, but he's very strange. And then he talks about running carbon-14 tests on the genetic structure. I don't know what he's going to run a genetic carbon-14 test on. The cops don't.
So I have a comment on this.
Yeah.
So this is one of my rabbit holes I went down. So Dr. Gavin says that he's going to go back to his lab because, quote, recent discoveries in the field of genetics might shed some light on what's going on.
Yes.
And so I got a little history corner for you
Lay
guys.
it on us.
So 1960 to 1964 was a huge couple of years for the science of genetics. So in 1961, we discovered messenger RNA. Also in 61, there was a famous experiment called the Poly-U experiment, where scientists cracked the first, quote, word of the genetic code. And there were a bunch of other discoveries that in 62, 3 scientists got a Nobel Prize for discovering the double helix that is in all of these movies, basically.
It's right and it's true, right? Isn't that the line from Discovering DNA?
Yeah, exactly. And basically, in the span of a couple of years, scientists found proof of a lot of things they had been hypothesizing about how genetics worked.
Yes.
So none of that is relevant to this movie, but I just had to share it.
It's a buzzword in the same way that like psychological terms in Maniac or movies around that time were used as buzzwords because they're new and people are hearing about them on the news and they don't really know what they mean, but it makes the movie sound smart.
They're exciting buzzwords, and I do think they would have packed a little bit of the thrill of science advancements that, I mean, are making you at least reconsider, how life functions, and maybe even are tiptoeing into like challenging some long-held religious views about how life works.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I don't think this movie is really trying to do anything along those lines, but genetics would have been a buzzword in 1964.
Yes,
and how does carbon-14 dating work into genetics?
It doesn't. It's just carbon-14 is the dating you do. It's the thing you use to date objects in archaeology, isn't it?
Did he mention carbon-14?
He did. He said carbon-14.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, well, there you have it. He's a genetics expert.
Yeah. So he doesn't go to a lab. He's got a lab in his house. I mean, right? I mean, let's work with dangerous chemicals in our house. But I think Elaine skips if he goes into work. We get a bit of a montage of him working, but then at night he's smoking his pipe and working, and we meet his housemaid Eulabelle, and she comes in and brings him a tray, and she has an opinion about what is really going on around here. What is Eulabelle's opinion, producer Brad?
It's a human thing, Dr. Gavin. It's a human evil thing lurking and creeping and crawling around out there in the night. I know it. I feel it.
You mustn't talk like that. A great deal of the ocean is still a mystery to us. There are undoubtedly forms of life that we know nothing about.
It's the voodoo, that's what it is.
Now that's ridiculous, Eulabelle. I want you to get this idea of voodoo out of your head. I have no doubt we'll find a perfectly reasonable explanation for the girl's death.
Yeah, so that's where I cut that clip, and what I cut out, which I regret, is Eulabelle giving him a ton of sass as she walks out of the room, like, no, it's voodoo, and then like walking out of the room.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to comment here. This movie has nothing to do with voodoo other than Eulabelle bringing it up, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yep. Okay.
She has stepped in from a 1937 zombie movie.
Yes, exactly. She even has a voodoo doll at one point, and I think that's just like, hey, zombies equal voodoo. We have to have somebody talk about voodoo, but they're radioactive zombies. It has nothing to do with voodoo. So it's strange, but at the same time, what it really does is just set up the, science versus mysticism argument that we're seeing in these movies. We see in a lot of movies, but particularly with zombies. Are they science zombies? Are they mystical zombies? This movie is a science zombie one, but they have, voodoo equals zombies. So they bring that in for some reason.
Yeah, they're toying with that idea of like, for all your highfalutin science,
right?
It's in these older human traditions that have true insight into reality.
And let me be clear, that's the best monologue in the whole movie, Eulabelle's monologue. So, yeah, she gets an Oscar for this one.
So, hey, John, I do have a question.
Yeah,
I'm not about the scene, but right around now, we see a lot of police cars in this movie, and I was wondering if you could identify the police car for me.
Well, this is bizarre. I don't think this is really a police car. It's a 61 Chevrolet Biscayne.
Okay.
But it's a two-door. And how can a police car be like, if you've got to throw somebody in the back seat, like, what do you pull the seat forward and be like, watch your head? Like, that just seems a little strange to me. So
It looks though it has the shape of like I don't know, like it looks like a cop car,
it
right?
does look like a cop car. Yes.
Okay.
But
I don't know. I don't know what like the Crown Victoria of the '60s was, but it has that vibe.
we might be getting to it later. Stay tuned, folks. There's another car reveal coming up. So
Okay. All right. Excellent.
all right.
All right. Well, carry
Yeah,
on.
let's start moving along here. So he doesn't have a lot of luck, but Elaine is sad. All her friends are having a slumber party, and she's like, "I'm not going to go." And her father gives her a lecture about how rude it is. He's like, "Just because all of your friends are dead, it doesn't mean we lose our manners." And he says, "If you're not going, you should call and say you're not going." So I actually agree with him about that, by the way. But
Yes.
in any case, she does that, and then there are all these girls in a slumber party. They're sad she's not coming. They've set up a bucket on top of the door because it's like we imagine a sorority slumber party. Like, all the girls are there in their nightgowns. They're singing folk music together, but at some point
There's 20 plus girls.
20
There's a
plus,
lot.
yes, a lot of girls. But what they know the boys are going to come over at some point and try to like see them. So they like set up a bucket on the top of a door so that it'll fall on them. And they're giggling and laughing, and they sing, and this is bad news because here comes not one, but two zombie fish monsters.
It was a good reveal when the second one pops up.
I did
have to
actually
say.
write, there are two, gasp.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's a whole bunch of monsters, and the girls hear them, and so they go, "Shh, here come the boys," and they turn out the lights. The door flies open, and it ain't the boys, it's the zombies. So I was actually fairly shocked by this.
Yeah.
And this might be a first for us. So what happens to these girls when the monsters come in, Andy? Don't they all run out and escape?
No, they get trapped in there because the monsters have come in from two different entrances simultaneously. They have flanked the slumber party girls.
And what happens to them?
And they rip them to pieces.
They're all dead. And this is where
Yeah.
we see gore. Like, a lot of people have like prosthetics on their faces that like show that they're like ripped and stuff. And there's 20 girls in white nightgowns lying around covered in blood or
Yeah.
chocolate syrup, as the case may be.
It's pretty gruesome. And like there's a few shots that are, I mean, they're pretty bad shots, but I think we're supposed to be suggested that like the monsters are just like ripping off arms and eating them.
Yes, like it's pretty. I mean, by the standards of the time, but have we seen? First of all, this is the biggest group kill by a horde of zombies we have seen so far, for sure.
By far, they just get slaughtered, and we haven't seen this much carnage. I don't think in any movie.
No,
today.
I don't think so. It's tame by today's standards. Heck, it's tame by 80s standards, but it was surprising that it went as far as it did to me, based on what we've just been watching.
This is like incredibly Jason bashing into the slumber party and killing everyone.
Yeah,
to me.
So this is interesting on a number of levels from a horror standpoint. It's the first like slumber party massacre, right? But also it's the zombies as a horde massacring people. So no, I think this is an important bit, and gore, like the people look like they've been torn up. So we'll come back to that
Yes.
when we summarize this. But
Did you catch the song that the girls were all singing?
no, what was it?
It's a song called "The Wagoner's Lad."
I don't know
It
that song.
it goes back to the first appearance of the song was in 1734.
Wow.
But when this movie came out, it had just recently been sung by Joan Baez
course.
and Pete Seeger.
Of course. Yes.
So yes, it's a song about a woman held down all her life by her parents and then her husband. It's a real downer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, Andy, did you recognize the song or did you go seeking the answer?
I went seeking the answer.
I would be impressed either way.
I wanted to know if the music in this movie was stuff that was like on the radio that the
Right.
the viewing audience would have recognized, because the Del Airs never made it big, but they were exactly the sort of music that kids were listening to. And I just wondered if this was a folk song, but I just wondered if this happened to be big at the
And
time.
it's also kind of fun, like I think we tend to lump past decades music together. But here we have Joan Baez and Pete Seeger singing folk songs along with surf music, along with the Beatles, and they're all kind of happening at the same time. So in any case,
And because it's so old, it's public domain and they don't have to pay to use the song.
That's true too.
Oh, John, you didn't mention that the girls all have a giant pillow fight shortly before.
Oh,
they
right.
die.
I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot to mention that.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So then we have a news montage. We have both a news anchor telling about this, and then weirdly, the news anchor is talking to a family, and the parents are holding their small boys on their lap, and the boys are staring at the TV as he describes the series of brutal murders to everybody, and they get wide-eyed. Then we get a newsie, right, selling newspapers. He tells us all about it, so we get a montage of that. This is, of course, the problem with the whole film. They're just, let's tell them as a news anchor and a newspaper, and let's just like have the newspaper montage last forever. However, we run into our next group of victims, 3 women who are on some sort of road trip. They're obviously like quote unquote bad girls, right? They have New Jersey accents. They're from New York, maybe. They're like they leer at every man they see. You know, they're suggestive, and they're driving, but they say, "Oh, we should skip this town. Didn't you hear about all the murders here?"
Yes,
but they need gas. Now,
okay,
Andy,
can we pause for a minute?
Yes,
I have a question. So this is where I learned that this is taking place on the East Coast.
Yes,
that surprised me. Like, was there an East Coast like beach scene? Because I mean,
there are beaches in like Connecticut, and like it's a thing.
I guess
this
so.
was filmed at real beaches in Connecticut, correct?
California. I mean, I would have guessed this type of movie would just be filmed in Southern California.
You're right. It does seem to make more sense, and it seems to fit more with like that vibe. But no, East Coast beaches are a thing, I think.
Okay, all right.
Now, Andy, what kind of car are they driving?
Why are you asking?
Actually, you get a good shot of the fender where it says what kind of car.
Oh,
yeah, it's a 1958 Ford Fairlane. So
okay,
yes. So I think what was the analogy you used earlier? Like the Crown Vic of the era.
Oh,
this is the Crown Vic of the era. This is this
okay.
giant convertible, 4-seater convertible, as long as a school bus, with giant fins, featured in a movie starring I'm losing names.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Andrew Dice Clay. Yes.
Okay. Which is called Ford Fairlane.
Which is called Ford Fairlane.
By the way, you know that these are bad girls because one of them is flirting with the gas station attendant and exposes her knee.
Yes. To try to get free gas, presumably. But they talk about, they flirt, they are headed to New York, they ask for directions. However, how do those directions go, Andy?
The directions lead them like into the creepy woods.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
So their car breaks down, they get lost and the car breaks down in like a swampy woods.
Yep. And they complain about a fish smell while they're trying to change the tire.
How hard would it? I mean, they're asking for directions to New York.
Yes.
How hard do you think it would be? I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, wouldn't every? I don't know. I just a little surprised that you would need directions to like one of the biggest cities in the world, and that you would follow those directions into the creepy woods. But what do I know?
Yeah. What do you know? All we need really is for some loose women to get exposed to terror. That's really
loose women that know how to change a flat tire though.
They're independent. I think there's a lesson here. Like, let's not read too much into it, but like, I think we're still in this moment where feminism is pushing against society, and a lot of these morality tales are about women who've taken the independent route, and look what happens to them. They get killed by fish monsters by the quarry in the woods. So
I think that you're right.
Yes. Now, at one point, so the guys, the fish monsters come out. They killed them. I think the lesson here is that convertibles are bad in the zombie apocalypse.
Yes.
But also, one of the girls tries to hide in the trunk, and I feel like she might have made it, but we never see her.
Too. That was confusing. I think it was just incompetently shot. It's worth noting that most of the monsters always come out at night. So it's always dark and horribly lit. So it is often very difficult to see what's going on. I don't know where lighting choices by the filmmakers starts and bad reproduction quality of the film I watched begins.
Yeah.
But between all of it, this scene was very confusing. It sure seemed to me like someone got in the trunk and survived.
But I do think later there's a mention of that's where the 3 girls were killed. And I have to assume it was those 3. But again, it's not clear.
All right, so I guess they got the trunk open.
Yeah, they must
jimmied
have.
the lock on the trunk, and
Yeah.
We never see them again, so we
No.
don't know.
So we go back to Dr. Gavin's house. Elaine is sad. She's holding her teddy bear. So
she's sad, by the way, because like every one of her peers has been killed.
so she's a little sad. And how does Eulabelle support her in her time of difficult feeling?
She scolds her for like, are you going to sit around and just mope all day?
Your friends all died. That was like 12 hours ago. What's wrong with you? Yeah. So Hank comes over to make her feel better. So in the middle of a killing spree, in the middle of the night, what do they decide to do to relieve their tension and sadness?
Well, obviously, they go to the beach.
They go
where
for
the
a drive in
began.
the dark to the beach
Yes.
where everybody died. Goodness. And then there's some dancing. There's more partying.
Yeah, the band is still there. The band is just there 24/7
I think they live
at the
there.
beach, as
They're
far
like-
as I can tell.
And
Yes,
they're
I
like an
think so.
android band. Yeah, or something.
So they do kiss. And quick quiz for you guys: when was our first like make out level kiss? Do you guys remember?
In a movie?
Yes,
It was
that we've watched on this podcast.
It was the one with the police guy, the police technician, and his wife.
Okay, I thought it was Scared Stiff in 1953.
Oh, it
but I
might have
could be
been.
wrong.
You're saying more than a kiss? It's a makeout?
Yeah.
Yeah, like not a chaste little peck on the
Right.
cheek, but like a makeout kiss. Anyway, I think it was in the early 50s that we saw that. But obviously, it's on full display here in 64.
Yes. So there's one important bit I want to get to, and then I kind of want to. There's a couple things I want to skip past, but
Yes.
at this point, the monsters are on the prowl, and they almost get two girls, but they fail. And so the monsters are wandering around town, window shopping, and they see a mannequin, a female mannequin in a dress. So they're so enraged at their prey escaping, they smash through the window and manage to cut their own arm off. So there's a zombie forearm inside of the dress store now.
Yes.
Which is found by somebody, and of course, immediately taken to Dr. Gavin. I think that's the only important part about this scene. So he examines it. Like, I don't know why I'm bothering here, but they're gonna lay out the whole thing for us here. So let's just do it. Like, we just cut to Dr. Gavin in his home laboratory examining the monster's arm.
April 10th, 7 p.m. Notes on possible malignant organism. Overall configuration, that of a human arm, severed just below the elbow joint. Muscle tissue seems to be a sea anemone, species of protozoa. These organs are exactly like human organs, except that they have been replaced by the protozoans. Of course, this creature needs the ordinary necessities of human life: proteins, fats, sugars, and so forth. But since his organs are so decomposed that they can neither produce nor retain the oxygen necessary for its survival, it needs the only food which can keep it alive.
Blood. Human blood.
If a human body, a drowned person, were attacked by tiny sea plants which became parasites and completely
Dead?
No, it's still alive. But it's changed into is it a plant or an animal?
It's both.
It's a giant protozoa.
Dr. Gavin, can they be killed?
I don't know, Lieutenant.
They are the living dead. They're zombies.
There it is.
There we go.
Now, there's no way that we know that unless they didn't have this huge expository scene explaining that to us.
No.
And they're just working in the living dead and zombies. Now, I want to say, what are we hurtling towards here? We're hurtling towards the Night of the Living Dead. So here is the phrase "the living dead" and zombies together in a sentence, which I can't. Like we've talked, they've been called the living dead before. They've been called zombies before. I don't know that they've been together in that context before. So I just wanted to point that out.
This scene is interesting because these things do not look like zombies at all, but they do. But this scene shows us that they are like
right
underneath the seaweed and the bad costume. These things are built on dead humans brought back to life by parasites, basically by radioactive parasites, which is, I mean, this basic concept is present in a lot of very modern zombie films.
Absolutely. Okay, now there's two guys who get drunk and get thrown out of a bar, and all I have to
I'm sorry, can I interrupt? So just one thing. So they keep asking like how they're going to kill it.
Yeah, that's right.
They
Let's come
haven't-
back.
No
yeah.
one has tried to kill one yet. The problem is not that they're like invincible. The problem is that they aren't able to predict where the monsters are going to attack.
Though I think in this scene they realize the arm they found is still alive, and that's what prompts this question.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think that's what I'm thinking.
All right. Well, it seemed to me like they were assuming a level of like invulnerability that.
No, I think I think it's because they found the severed arm, and the severed arm is still alive. So
Okay,
then they're
yeah.
like, "Oh no, how do we kill it?"
But then we get our big break in the case, right?
So yes, they get their big break. What happens is now they think there's a monster coming down the steps towards them, and they're sort of freaking out. And the police detective pulls out a gun, and the doctor says, "No, that's no use. Here are some knives. They might protect us." And the creature comes to the door and walks in the door, and they pull back the arms and their knives, but it's not the creature. Who is it, Andy?
It is Eulabelle.
Yes, who's pulled her shawl over her head and somehow looks like the creature. And they're like, Eulabelle, you scared us to death. So she sees the arm. She's down in the lab. She's looking at it, and she knocks over a beaker of chemicals onto the arm. And what happens to the arm?
The arm goes up in flames.
It bursts into flames.
Yeah.
What was in that?
Sodium.
Sodium. Yes, of course. I don't know what
Yeah,
that's about.
yeah.
But any case, so that's our break. They realize if they can douse these creatures with sodium, then that will destroy them. So they've solved the problem. They've introduced the problem and solved the problem in the same scene.
Yeah.
So then there's this scene, and I wrote, I wanted to fast forward through this part. These are the first two people that I'm glad were dead. So
Yes, this scene goes on forever.
there's an attempt at comedy with two drunks trying to leave a bar. They get thrown out of a bar. I don't even want to go over it, but in any case, they get lost. They find a dead body. The monsters chase them, and there's a really gross face. There's some more delightful gore here.
Yes, a little bit of filmmaking prowess here.
Yeah.
So one of the people is talking to a corpse that he doesn't realize is a corpse.
Yes.
Until the corpse's head then like flops over
Into
so
the
that
light.
we, the viewer, can see that half of its face has been eaten off. However, due to the positioning, the other guy would have been looking directly at the eaten off half of the face. Like, it's just very funny.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about this is these are the only men killed by the creatures.
I made that note as well. It's
Yeah,
all
so-
young girls except for these.
So
men.
far, they've been just beelining for the women, but finally they kill a couple of guys.
So then we get a montage. This is the low point. Well, no, that comedy scene was a low point in the movie. This is the most ridiculous point in the movie where the monsters are attacking and killing people left and right.
Yes.
Endless montage with screaming women.
Yes.
Overrun with jaunty music, like do like the industrious monsters work away at the population.
I've never seen this. Like, montages are almost always used to show the heroes working towards a goal.
No.
And this movie uses a montage. It's a montage of monster murders.
Yes.
It's incredible.
So I just want to say, like after they figured out about the sodium, to the next clip I'm going to play was 10 solid minutes, and all it was those drunk guys and that montage. And this is where I almost lost it. Now, I only included. I don't know why we care about the plot of this film, but I only included it so we could just bring closure. Last clip. There's more movie, but the last clip I'm pulling is they figure out what they have to do to find the monsters, because that's the real problem.
Well, before you do the clip, it's really irritating. Like, they paste the discovery of the monster's vulnerability wrong.
Yes.
They discover it, and then it takes them and then the monster kills like 300 more people before they get their act together. Like, you're supposed to leave. Anyway, whatever.
Yes.
All right, carry on.
However, Hank figures out how they can find the monsters. Producer Brad, give us Hank's wisdom here.
Dr. Gavin, look.
Scale 15.
The water from that arm is radioactive.
That means the cells themselves are radiated. But how?
The floating pig.
The what?
Oh, the floating pig. That's what we call the garbage scow that leaves the harbor every week. You see, it's been dumping waste material from the reactor at the university.
Do you know where they dump?
See, a friend of mine said he saw them once out at Western Island, I believe.
Western Island. Here it is. Look at these currents, Hank. If one of those containers sprung a leak, the waste would be drawn right by our shore. And that's where Tina was killed that first night. Western Island is also where that fishing boat went down just a few weeks ago. These creatures are human bodies kept alive by radioactive decay.
So wherever they go, they leave radioactive water. So all we have to do is to test the water to know where they've been.
Right, and we can tell where they are.
So then we get another montage.
Testing the water to find out where the monsters have been in the past.
Yes.
Is the dumbest, most boring plan I've ever heard.
But can we back up that they all know that waste is being dumped in the bay and they go swimming?
And they go, like they're very cavalier about the fact that, the garbage cow goes by and dumps its waste every day.
I think also they just tried to sneak in an explanation of why there's now a bunch of monsters.
Because of the fisherman's boat.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it reminds me of that, like one of those horrible, funny sketches about producers. They're like, it's one line of dialogue. We'll just fix it with dialogue. Just one line of dialogue. It's all set.
So we're actually closing in on the movie's climactic finale, believe it or not.
Yes. This is the most pathetic thing in the movie, though. So there's a montage of people hunting the creatures with Geiger counters, including Elaine.
And it's as exciting as it sounds.
It's as exciting as it sounds. People standing by small bodies of water with a Geiger counter.
A Geiger counter that doesn't even do anything.
Yes.
Like, I mean, the you don't even get to see the little needle move.
No. However, this is where Eula Bell shines once again. Hank's one job is to find a large quantity of sodium. And he's like, I just can't find any place. And Eula Bell's like, well, you have to keep trying. And he's like, well, there's a couple places I haven't tried. And she's like, duh, you've got to try every place. What are you talking about? Like, the world's going to end if you don't find the sodium, nerd. In any case.
And when he does find the sodium, so you're led to believe that the problem is nobody produces sodium in
sufficient
quantities.
Right.
When he does find it, it shows him, and he's carrying maybe a small bucket's worth of sodium.
I thought he would. I put a note in here, he drives his MG to get the sodium, and I put a note if he needs a lot of sodium, how does it fit in this car? But apparently he didn't really need that much.
I mean, there might be that much sodium in my house. I could probably rustle it together.
I know, right? In the winter in Michigan, you've probably got that much just in your garage right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
In any case, the creatures come back. They realize that Elaine is alone by Fingal's quarry, and they're worried. They're worried that she's going to get killed. So there's this interminable race as he drives home, and the police cars drive to the quarry, and they've got to try to flag him down. Like it's forever.
Yeah, the movie was pretty convinced that people wouldn't buy this unless they showed the whole logistical chain of decisions that got by which Hank was notified that Elaine was at the quarry.
Yes. And
by the way, and that might be because they put out an all points bulletin for Hank. They say traveling in a gray MGA.
Oh, nice.
So it's the one film that tells you what the car is.
But Elaine is over there, and she is using her Geiger counter, and she has found the monster's lair, right?
Yes, and the monsters come out of the water and pursue her. And she runs up to the top of the hill, and what happens, Andy?
She trips and falls and gets her foot stuck in a very cinematic way in between a couple of rocks.
Yes, and there's more chocolate syrup on her foot.
Yes.
I think, you know what, now that in retrospective, there's a lot of feet with blood on them in this movie, and I just would you know what, let's just move on.
Carry on.
They race to save her. At some point, I thought Dr. Gavin was killed because he was attacked.
Oh, me too, yeah.
Yeah, but he made it.
Thank God.
Yeah, and then they come up with their salt bucket and throw handfuls of salt at the monsters, who burst into flames. And the day is saved.
Yes. At the end, though, somebody refers to them as sea zombies.
Sea
which
zombies,
I thought was
yes.
nice. Yes.
So, in any case, we made it, Andy. We're at the end of this film.
We did. There is one closing thing I wanted to point out.
Please.
It might come up in our closing questions. So this movie ends with Hank and Elaine having a little romantic exchange.
Yes.
And then The movie ends with them making out on a bed.
Yeah.
Which it felt like an escalation to me.
Yes.
And then complete with like the camera then turning away from them to look at something else in the room. It just felt a little provocative.
It's so weird to me because we're gonna like real pornography is about to happen in culture here in a few short years, and that it just feels like the culture, and maybe that's the lesson of the '60s, takes a huge jump in terms of sexual openness and everything else. Right after this time. So,
but that's a wrap on the horror at Party Beach.
Yes.
So, do you think its actual name is Party Beach? Is that like on the map, Party Beach?
I hope so. Probably
yeah,
not,
me
though.
too. All right, we've been talking about this for a long time, so I'm going to jump right into our wrap-up questions, John. Okay. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, then you're going to ask me a couple questions, and then we'll wrap this whole deal up.
All right.
John, in the horror at Party Beach, is there a hero party?
There is. Hank, Tina, Elaine, a bunch of other teenagers. Yeah.
And how does the party do? How do they survive? How many survive?
Well, except for Tina, most of the main party survives, but a lot of the partiers at Party Beach do not survive.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
What kind of zombie are we dealing with in this movie?
So we're dealing with a scientific zombie, but that is unintentionally created. It's created as a byproduct of man's experimentation or technology, which I think is important because there's, that's I hate to make this comparison. That's also the instigating technology in 28 Days Later, right? It's the hubris of man who is disposing of this thing in the sea, and the consequence is a horrible zombie plague. So
is this our first man accidentally created the zombies because we are being bad?
I think it might be. We'll have to, when we're doing the spreadsheet at the end, let's review, but I think this might be a first for us. So,
okay.
And I think, as terrible as this movie is, as MST3K as it is, that's actually an important development in the history of zombie movies. That becomes a plot of so many zombie movies in the 80s, 90s, and even all the way up through today that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a zombie horde in this movie?
Absolutely. They're ridiculous. But there is a horde of ridiculous, like when I realized they had that more than one suit, I'm like, you could have just skipped the suits and made them look like zombies. Like,
they would have been scarier without the suits, to be totally honest.
The director had the production designer make the suits, and when he saw them, he liked the fact that they were over the top and campy.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so at least he knew what he was doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. How are these zombies destroyed or killed?
The mysterious and elusive chemical sodium has to be thrown on them.
Indeed.
Yep.
Is the world threatened?
Yes, I think so. I mean, certainly the town of whatever this is, Party Beach, is threatened, right? So it's semi-apocalyptic.
How fast are the zombies? Are they slower, faster, or regular human speed?
They're faster, I think. I mean, they're not like crazy fast. They're like regular humans running fast.
Do you think so? See, I thought watching this that if any one of these people would just turn away from the zombie and run away from it, they would be fine.
Maybe they're just clumsy. Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe they're just slow. They're awkward. How about that?
Everyone lets themselves get backed up against something.
Yes.
It's just bad, just general life practice,
Yes.
I think. Okay. Are there any new strains or zombie firsts that you want to call out here?
Well, I think we'll talk about it more let's talk about it here. I think that the human technology inadvertently creating zombies is definitely a first.
I think so too.
I think it's our first massacre.
Okay.
Yep. And maybe our first like real gore. There's not that much, but the face ripped off thing is pretty stark compared to what we've been watching.
And there's quite a bit of it.
Yes.
It's not like there's one scene where there's a gross something, which we have seen in previous movies.
No, this is gore repeatedly. Yep.
I agree with that.
We also had, this is the first film that the responsible characters are the only ones who survive.
That's right. Which is sort of like in an earlier movie, we sort of had a proto slasher, right? This feels like another step, not only for zombie movies, but for slasher movies.
Yes. All right. Well, John, at the beginning of this podcast, you identified 4 pillars of the zombie genre. Let's see how long ago show up.
Yes.
Yeah, it was in earlier days.
Yeah.
John, is there an apocalypse in the horror at Party Beach?
I'm going to say no, because what I meant by this was a worldwide or at least a countrywide apocalypse, and that's not the
Agreed.
case.
Is there contagion?
I don't think so. At some point, the monsters do carry people off, but there's
Yeah, I
no
wondered about that
clear
too.
indication that those people then become zombies.
Yeah, I think to become a zombie, you have to just be exposed to the radioactive waste underwater, and so their ability to multiply is pretty limited. I think.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is possible they are dragging people off to expose them to the radiation to make them zombies, but I think they're just dragging them off to like eat them.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Are there tough moral choices? Sorry, in this movie?
Not really.
Yeah.
No.
Well, Elaine does have to decide whether or not to date Hank after his girlfriend is mauled.
And she has to decide whether or not to call the people at the slumber party and tell them she's not coming. So let's I switch it to a hard yes. No, there's no tough moral choices in this movie.
That's too good. And lastly, in this movie, are there loved ones turning against
You know what? There aren't. The zombies are all
No.
strangers.
Yep.
And in fact, they don't even look human, which distances it further. So we've got a zombie movie with a couple of good is a relative term, with a couple of important zombie things in it that have none of my pillars. So
yeah,
or none of our.
It's kind
They're
of-
our pillars, Andy. You know what? We're a team.
Yes.
I think you said another first. Is this the first film to have zombies that don't look human?
Technically, the zombies of the Stratosphere zombies were green aliens, but they looked human.
They were human. They didn't
Yeah.
have like oversized eyes and kelp hair, and
I think that is a first.
Yeah,
yes.
I'll take that as a first.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is, the pillars were designed with modern zombie movies. So I think what's interesting is we're getting zombie bits that carry forward that have nothing to do with what we think of as the modern zombie movie. So
yeah, exactly. All right, over to you, John, for a few questions about the 1960s.
all right. So first question: increase in violence and grittiness that we predicted.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Lots of gore, and I'll loop this into this question, but there's a ton of sexualized content.
Yeah.
That hasn't been in past ones as well. So all this movie is in its dumb way is pushing a lot of boundaries.
and the quantity of the people killed.
Yeah.
is-
So many.
I think we're talking hundreds in this
Yeah.
film.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And in gruesome ways. And I think you're absolutely correct. What about questioning of authority?
I don't think so. I mean, you could argue that the fact that Eulabelle is the one who comes up inadvertently with a solution is maybe a little bit of a dig at the powerlessness of the authorities. That said, I don't think this movie is really trying to stick it to the man.
Other than the teenagers are out under their own devices doing a bunch of crazy things, right? Which in a
Yes.
sense is questioning authority. But there's no
I guess,
there's
you know,
no
and in some
authority
sense-
figure they're reacting to. Like Dr. Gevin
Exactly.
doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say the teens save themselves, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
Like Elaine finds the monsters, and it's it's Hank who ends up delivering the means for fighting them. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like a real a rebellious film, to be honest.
I agree. What about a focus on a heroine's inner life, personalized hero or personalized horror?
Yeah, this is a little iffy. I mean, we do get a few scenes that I would describe as introspective, where a character is kind of brooding on the horror of what's happening, but I can't in good conscience really say that this is an example of the sort of personalized horror that you would see in like Psycho, where
Right.
it's people's fears and traumas that are exploited.
Yeah. What about a fear of crime, societal chaos, or anarchy?
So I do think that there are vibes of uncontrollable violence in this movie. I think like the montage of monsters killing people could be like a montage of criminals like
Right.
killing people or stealing stuff. I do think that behind this movie, and it is a very 60s thing, that kind of this fear of like crime is everywhere. There's this wave of crime that can't be stopped. I do think that is being exploited here.
Yeah, and definitely like when the three girls in the Ford Fairlane come to town, they're talking about how violent the town is. That could easily be like in a different context, just talking about crime in a big city or something.
Yeah.
What about a sense of looming apocalypse and psychological stress that creates?
I don't think so. I mean, in theory, if dozens of kids were being killed in your town, it would create this sense of apocalyptic menace, but this movie does not really convey that menace very well.
Not at all. No.
So I'm going to say no on this one. I mean, people are still able to go to the beach and have a party after all of these horrible murders.
Yes.
So
what about horrors without solutions or a lack of clear villains to defeat?
Well, no, but with a caveat.
Yeah.
So they do defeat the horrors, but I mean, I guess the real villain is the human processes that created these things to begin with.
Right.
So, I mean, in theory, this movie did not end with us hearing that they cleared the radioactive waste out of the ocean, right?
Right.
I mean, so there is a little bit of that sense of like, well, we stopped this incarnation of awfulness, but the root causes, are unaddressed. This movie doesn't care about those root causes.
No.
So I don't think it's really intended to be the horror is still out there type of movie.
No, the villains in the sort of, the villains in it feels like a throwback to the 50s, right? Just monsters that are going to eat you.
All right, John, I'm going to wrap this up with a couple of questions we always ask at the end of every episode. John, would you and I survive the zombie world of the horror at Party Beach?
We would, and do you know why?
Well, for me, it would be because I'm too straight-laced of a kid to be partying on the beach with a bunch of scantily clad teenagers.
Also, we're not scantily clad teenage girls.
That's okay. That's a very good point.
That's why we would survive.
Also, you don't drunk drive at night.
And we don't drunk drive at night.
And encounter monsters.
Yes. So I think we would actually.
I would, because I was always bowing out of social situations on flimsy excuses because I was a shy introvert. So I was like Elaine making the call to the slumber party saying,
yeah,
you're all having fun over there, but I'm going to stay home and read tonight. So
yeah, there you go.
So we'd be fine. All right, John, is The Horror at Party Beach a zombie movie, or is this a movie with zombies?
It's a zombie movie.
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
all about the zombies and defeating them.
And John, lastly, would you recommend this movie? Firstly, to people generally looking for a great film to watch, and secondly, to our legion of zombie-loving listeners.
I'm going to cheat and use the answer I've used before. So that's a no and a no, because it's just not very good. But you might enjoy watching it via MST3K.
Yes. As with, I'm going to agree with that. As with a lot of these kind of so bad it's good type movies, it's mostly, when you watch them, you'll realize it's mostly just bad.
Right. Right.
So the way to watch this is definitely through Mystery Science Theater.
100%.
And while I genuinely think that we've unpacked a few interesting zombie things from this film, it's not enough to make this worth the drudgery of watching.
No, I'm glad we found them, and I'm glad we're here to tell people about it so they don't have to do it. So.
All right. Okay. So it's time for the scariest part of every episode, and that is where producer Brad reveals to me and John what we will be watching next.
Okay. I think I'll introduce this film, our next film, with a snippet from the trailer before I show you the poster.
Oh.
So here is the beginning of the trailer.
Suddenly, a man dies at the controls of a train. Suddenly, a car swerves to destruction. Suddenly, a plane dives to death. The earth dies screaming.
Yay!
Oh, wow.
It's time.
Okay. It is.
This is the second time we will be watching this film, and that's a story we will relate next time. But do you want to describe the poster?
Yeah, the movie is called The Earth Dies Screaming.
Can I just say that's a great name for a movie,
It
my
is
opinion.
a great name. Yes. All right, let's see if I can make out the wording on this poster. Who or what were they? And then, John, can you read the rest of this?
I can't. It's too blurry.
I can read it for you. Who tried to wipe all living creatures off the face of this earth? Be there when the earth dies screaming.
And it's got like a robot guy in a suit.
Yeah, it looks like a guy in a hazmat outfit.
Yes, so we have previous history with this film, and we'll tell you all about it next time. Please like and subscribe, and join us for The Earth Dies Screaming. You've been listening to Zombie Strains. We'll be back next episode to talk about another zombie movie. If you enjoyed our podcast, please take a moment to rate us in your podcast app of choice. Tell a friend. Follow us on Instagram at Zombie Strains. All of this helps like-minded people find the show. See you next time.